Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Kayak Bass Nation is presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. Go to dugoutfishing.com to find everything you need for your next kayak bass fishing tournament.
Hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego.
Also sponsored by Revo Sunglasses. Go to revo.com, use code KBN25 to save 25% off your next order. Revo, best lenses on earth. Also sponsored by Western Sun Vodka. Go to westernsundistillery.com and use the bottle finder to find a bottle near you.
Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. It is Monday night. We got Ryan on the road.
Yeah.
Party on the top, business on the top also with Scrubs, I guess. All business. Yeah. What's up, man? How you doing tonight? Been working all day, huh?
I've been working 3 different jobs today, man. I'm about wore out.
Yeah. Dang. That's
weekend on Kentucky Lake, getting my teeth kicked in. So, trying to recover from that.
As we've done the last few weeks, we have to touch on football, which had to make you feel better over the weekend.
Hey, boy, that was it right there. I've been telling myself that the punishment of my fishing season was going to be rewarded in football season, and boy, has it. That was amazing.
As a Vols fan myself, I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be more proud.
I'm glad you stuck with us, Jeff. It takes a lot to be that loyal to a fan base.
Yeah, I made a post about that, and people were like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I was just kind of being sarcastic, but I was pulling for the Vols to win and beat Alabama. So
America was pulling for the Vols to beat Alabama.
Yeah, I like things that disrupt, and I'm tired of Clemson and Alabama and the same old teams being up there. So
that was a good Cinderella story. And to be honest with you, I didn't think our team was that good going into it. So. Yeah. The way that we've kind of, especially the last couple of weeks, it seems like we've really kind of settled into a groove. And I think Georgia's probably in for a headache here in a few weeks. I think they're gonna stub their toe a little bit on a hidden hooker.
Amens. I'm going for the Vols all the way.
Yeah.
So here we go. Kyle Long's in the comments. We don't want him to scold us, so we know this is a kayak fishing podcast, so we'll get on the fishing. He actually asked how your tooth was after last week.
It's in a trash can somewhere. They ended up getting in a little bit over their head, and they cut me probably, I'd say, up to about right here. So
took out part of your mandible as part of the whole deal.
Massive hole in maxillary sinus, I think, is where they stopped. But it's bad news bears.
Wow, yeah, awful. Well, you look like you feel better at least.
I do. I feel a million times better.
Yeah. So we got folks on YouTube slide in here. We got some people on Facebook. Help us out on Facebook. We always ask you over there to share this if you can. You can do it on YouTube if you have the ability to post it to the community tab there, but easy on Facebook. You just hit the share tab and boom, share it to your local group or page or whatever. It helps us out. We appreciate y'all. Regardless, those who are on here now, we appreciate y'all. We're going to have a fun night tonight. We've got Josh King, who just won the KAST State Championship on beautiful carp-filled Kentucky Lake. He figured out how to bob and weave around the carp. You were in there,
buddy. I tell you, that place is nuts. I feel terrible for anyone fishing that. I really do. There's a bunch of people from the national championship that have been there for weeks, bobbing around, hitting the carp in the head. I don't know. It's crazy to think you can like pre-fish for a championship for like 3 weeks. Like that's pretty wild.
Yeah, we can touch on that a little. We can touch on that championship a little bit if you want here in a minute. Then the second half of the show, if you guys saw the announcement, we've got the All-American Kayak Series Angler of the Year, who also won the Moyak Angler of the Year in Missouri. Which was for those unfamiliar with Moyak, it's kind of the Midwest version of Queen City. They're booming right there in the Midwest. They have a big turnout every event. So Chad Davison double dipped 2 AOYs within a week there. So got him on in the second half of the show. So we'll continue our AOY interviews. It's going to be a good one. But yeah, we always like to talk about what went down in the kayak fishing world over the last week. And I guess it'd be fair to say there's been some major developments since our last show last Monday night after we had Drew.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That little pond got deep real quick. So I guess there was some kind of, notification to Drew that, obviously that was illegal water when there were several obstructions between the fishing area and the main lake. So from what I understand, Bass is investigating it. They have apparently a lengthy process where they, really do their due diligence and check all the different options out, possibilities, send in people to lay eyes on it themselves instead of just going, based off another competitor's report that could benefit from something like that. They send in kind of independent third-party people to check this stuff out. So it ain't over. We'll see what's happening.
Yeah, we jumped the gun. We announced some AOY on here, and it may not be the case at all. So we'll see what happens with the ruling. And it's wild because we got into some of those rules that are in question on the show with him last week. So, that's what you're called into question.
Probably part of being not only an angler in these bigger tournaments, but probably one of the biggest names in the sport is you got to know the ins and outs. And I have trouble, what the rules are. They're written out. We fish, Hobie has very similar rules, verbiage wise. You got to know when you're in the gray. I wouldn't do something like that when so much is on the line for not only winning that tournament, but also AOY. That's kind of a heavy price to pay there to be doing something like that.
Yeah. Whenever you start, I don't like to ever be on the borderline or in the gray area of things, but whenever I think I even slightly could be, a simple text to the TD usually clears that up real quick. Hey, am I good? Am I good here? What's going on, and that'll help a lot. So I don't know.
And you were talking about, you had a conversation with a TD for Hobie about how to move your kayak, and another cool thing, funny thing, silly thing happened this weekend. A video was posted from the Bass Pickwick event.
Is that Travis?
By Hobie's definition of the rules. Once your foot touches an obstacle that you're crossing, that's you leaving. Once you touch that obstacle, you're portaging. You are using your body to access illegal water, which is against the rules. Bass apparently doesn't yet have a very clear, rule surrounding that on the kayak side yet. I think just from the things that we saw happen in this one single tournament by some creek guys that you're going to see a lot of rule changes out of that. So good job.
Yeah. And the discussion, we made a post about once the protest was filed and that was going on, we made a post about how big of a decision is this for Bass? What do you think? And the thread got big. It's 200 comments long, but there's a lot of back and forth. The creek guys are like, hey, we should be able to do whatever the hell we want and go as far up creek as we want. And some of the other people are like, well, no, you need to be on the actual lake that you're supposed to fish at some point in the tournament, probably.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the rule is going to draw the line. I'm for, if you start at least in the main lake or towards the main lake, within half a mile of the main lake, if there's a ramp up in the creek, and then you go up in the creek. If you can make it 25 miles up a creek, then by God, do it.
Yeah. They're going to have to do something like that. I think. I really think a lot of this silliness has exposed a lot of weaknesses in the rules and verbiage. Another option, if you don't like fishing the main lake or near main lakes, start a creek trail, start a moving water trail. You could call it river bassing or something. If you just want to fish an entire watershed into something, take off. But I would say for the big trails, in my opinion, they probably want to keep them lake-based, as that's going to be closer to big host cities that are going to pay for these tournaments. They're going to have access from their media boats. It's going to be much easier to secure with more eyeballs on people. To me, that just makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, and the main thing you just said there, the host city. You know what I mean? The host city. If you just open it up to every little stream, you could have people that never even visit within 20 miles of the host city. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
They're paying for that advertisement. So you guys just had the state championship. We're going to interview Josh about that. You already talked about Kentucky Lake. People know about the carp over there, but you ran into another little interesting tidbit of info with your group over there, didn't you? With the county, the chamber over there.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about like something that happened in Florida with some money changing hands or whatever. Apparently, there was the chamber, the hosting county, was a little disappointed in the turnout that was advertised that he was going to receive for the national championship. So I think, again, we've talked about this. If you're running tournaments through these cities and stuff, it's way better to, shoot for an accurate number, especially if you see things trending a certain way, than overshoot. And then you've got this chamber that's upset that's going to hurt the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. So
yeah,
be careful on that.
Business 101 is under promise, over deliver, not the other way around. And that
you would think.
Yeah. So I don't know. That I was not shocked to hear you tell me that when you ran into the fellow over there with talking to y'all's group, but it is what it is. It'll be another obstacle for the next person that wants to go fish or host on Kentucky Lake, I reckon. So we'll see.
I hope there's not another entity that wants to go to Kentucky Lake. That's miserable.
Is there any saving it? I mean, is there anything they can do?
I mean, there's a lot of bait. There's a lot of bait fish in there. If you want to have a bait fish tournament, I don't know where the hell the bass are. I'm not even joking about that. Like the kind of, I guess, 15-inch plus category of largemouth was almost non-existent altogether. Some guys, and Josh will, share some info with us on that. But like, there's some good smallmouth that got caught, but it was just. It was tough, it was not a fun experience. I think you have to take angler experience into planning these events, just like you follow. That was miserable. Like, I don't know. It really kind of makes your days a whole lot longer when you are on just, fishless lake.
Yeah. And we're hoping that scourge doesn't make its way up, down, or whatever it is, the Tennessee River. We don't want, I know locks and that, that's going to happen some, but hope they can mitigate that in the other. Lakes on the chain there. Jesse Howerson says, drain the damn lake and start over. Josh, what's up, y'all? What's up, Josh? Richie, Eric Thompson said, we're not bringing on the 5th place person at the state championship. No, sorry, Eric. As pro as you are.
Yeah.
Jessica Metz says, hey, Ryan.
She's from out there at our duck camp in Arkansas.
All right.
We'll be out there in a couple of weeks, shoot some birds with Mr. Frank.
I got you. Good stuff. We'll get Josh in here in just a second. Before we do that, we always want to shout out the sponsors. So Dugout Bait and Tackle, I saw their name on top of that state championship banner. They're always sponsoring everything they can.
Gracious sponsor. Thank you.
Yeah. Dugout Bait and Tackle, hit up dugoutfishing.com and you can find what you need over there. And I'm sure they still got boats this fall. They want to turn over for the 2023 stock to come in.
Yep.
Revo sunglasses, best lenses on earth. I got a pair hanging right here. Make sure you go to Revo.com, KBN25, save you some money on those. And then Western Sun Vodka. You can see some bottles behind me there. Ryan usually has some strawberry on deck, but he's on the road tonight, so he didn't have it. But
yeah, I hurt myself Saturday night celebrating that win. I'm gonna stay off for a minute.
Hey, Jeremy said we finally talking AAKS. We've had Tyler and Josh on here a couple times, I think. And
yeah, we tried to promote that thing, buddy. We're waiting on y'all to show up.
We trying, baby, trying. And then Western Sun, one more thing about them. If you don't know this, you can go to westernsundistillery.com and type in your zip code on the bottle finder and see where they sell it by you. So if you don't know where you can get some, it's pretty affordable compared to a lot of different vodka brands. You slide over and hit that app and go get some. Find where you can buy it. So there you go. All right. What do you think? We get Josh?
Let's do it.
Bam. Another champ. Tennessee State champ. What's up, man?
Everybody?
What's up, man?
Not much, man. Not much.
How does it feel? How does it feel to join the ranks of Russ Snyder's and Craig Dye's as a Tennessee State champ?
To be honest, I'm still really soaking it all in. I'm really speechless on it. It's just one of those magical days, Hard to explain what all happened.
Was there any kind of paparazzi or anything outside your house this morning when you got up to go to work?
No. No, not at all. Just a bunch of text messages from everybody.
All right. That's close enough, I guess.
Just podcast in the inbox. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, I know this is probably a dumb question. I'm in Arkansas, so I don't know. There's a lot of clubs in Tennessee. So which one of the clubs were you repping at the state championship?
Tri-City Kayak Anglers.
All right. Where's that at?
East Tennessee.
East
It's
Tennessee.
East Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know some of the West Tennessee guys, and then of course I know Ryan and those guys in the Chattanooga area, but I don't know a lot of the other clubs. So good stuff. How many do you guys have? How many guys have, Ryan, that rep at the championship? 12?
I think we had like 11 clubs at this one. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And do y'all do a team thing as well, like best club?
So there is a team competition for the paddle. So it's kind of cumulative for your entire team that goes into who wins. And we have this like really nice wooden paddle, and you get your club engraved on it with the year, like every year. So you pass it around. You know, we always want to see KBFTN, which is like the Nashville crew. We always want to see them lose. So, so they didn't win it again this year. So that's a victory for us all.
What's up with that? Is there history there?
They've won it a lot.
Oh, okay.
Like they've won it probably 80% of available years to win it. So it's just kind of a united front to make sure they don't win.
Perfect.
So had you fished Kentucky Lake before, Josh? Did you know what you were getting into with that one?
Never. I've never actually ever fished that side of Tennessee at all.
What'd you think?
It was very similar, in my opinion, to like Chickamauga a little bit as far as how shallow the lake was. But really, there was nothing to fish. I mean, you had sandbars. Sandbars, little pebble banks here and there, but it was a struggle for sure. Throughout practice, me and my dad, he fished it with me, and we spent 5 hours in one spot, only caught one fish. We had a bunch of bait fish there. Yeah. Decided to move locations, which was like an hour drive to the next ramp. And I stumbled across a couple of small fish, left them alone, thinking that, if I needed to, I can come back and possibly catch a small limit there just to kind of savage the day. But day one of the event, I went to the same spot. The wind played a humongous factor into my bite. I think it was a southwest wind, and it was blowing the bait fish all over this transition bank, and there was bass, white bass, drum, all schooling, busting up shad and everything, and I was lucky enough to find a few big ones.
So where you were you? So I'll tell you this. I was fishing like the land between the lake side, so like the northeast. So that wind was just pounding where I was at. Were you a little more sheltered? Because I'll tell you, I tried to fish that main channel bank, and I almost like sank my kayak, flipped a couple times. Like it was rowdy. It was 3.5, 4 foot rollers. So when you said that at awards, I was like, surely to God, he was not sitting in that trying to like fish a bank.
I was sitting dead in it, but it was just a weird setup, to be honest, because I marked fish out in the main channel, and I used live scope to kind of figure out what they were and such. But I mean, they were so big, I just assumed that they were those carp. I didn't really know, but they were busting up shad, so I knew something was chasing something, and pretty much just threw a jerk bait, crankbait, lipless crank, and I found a few. The biggest thing was to keeping my Hobie in the wind, facing the wind. That was the biggest thing on that.
You run a motor, no motor out there?
No motor.
Do y'all allow them or no?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
He and I had a long conversation about motors last night. We're about to get him on the motor train real quick. You get into the good fish now, Jeff. Boy, he caught some nice smallmouth there.
I'm saying, I saw a largemouth. Then I clicked on that 20 before I shared the screen. Bingo.
Yeah.
There's the one right there.
Yeah, he got them brown ones.
So did you know in practice you had a mix going on, Josh?
No, all I caught in practice were largemouth and a bunch of white bass. I mean, my largemouth that I've caught were a 12, a 14 and a half, and a 16.
Hey, a 16's a
And
bit. 16's a big one up there, though.
I didn't know that at the time. I mean, I did a bunch of map study and everything and kind of got a layout of the lake. So I knew that they were kind of on some pebble banks, but like I said, you know, I just paid attention to my surrounding. I saw all those bait fish just getting busted like crazy, and I just kind of stayed in an area and just cycled back and forth for both days.
I was in an area with a bunch of bait, but there wasn't anything eating it. I mean, there was just hundreds of yards of bait, and the bait were, you know, they were flicking around. I don't know what they were. We were talking about that earlier. They're either emerald shiners or threadfin that were, you know, kind of jumping up out of the water, but there was nothing really eating them. The carp were out in the middle, just rolling around, you know, having a great time. But I couldn't find anything to even eat the bait fish, much less my bait.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know how many bass or how many white bass and drum I caught.
Yeah,
in that area, but it was a lot. I had to weed through a lot of them.
I think drum to bass ratio is usually about 5 to 6 to 1 on Kentucky Lake. It seems like so. That's pretty standard practice up there.
But yeah, it was crazy. It was like sharks coming out of the water.
Wow,
it was nuts.
Coming from East Tennessee, Josh, did you didn't have to fish, obviously, say you hadn't fished Kentucky Lake before. You haven't had to face that problem with the carp. So maybe did you come in with any preconceived notions about how bad that was going to be, or were you not worried about it? How'd that play in your mind before you got there?
So truthfully, I knew all that information prior to going, just from people talking. But overall, I kind of had no expectation whatsoever, besides just go out and do what I like to do the most is just fish. And I think that kind of really helped play a long ways, taking the pressure off until, I get a lot of text messages saying, hey, you're in the lead. And I was like, oh, shoot. But yeah,
it looked like, I mean, just from our standings, to get over 80 inches was obviously doing something great. To get upper 80s was pretty nuts on that body of water. So I think you'll see the national championship will probably show us a pretty good sample size of how the lake is fishing overall from end to end. But I know a lot of guys focused on creeks. Like when you hearing people pre-fish, a lot of people focused on creeks and getting up those creeks. I kind of had a similar mindset to you in the fact that I thought it was going to take the big smallmouth bite to win it. I didn't think you could win it in a creek. I thought it would be, big brown fish having to play in that one, and you demonstrated that point pretty well.
Yeah. Well, my mindset when I went in there was to kind of treat it like Chickamauga. Of course, I didn't know exactly what Kentucky kind of held, but I like fishing docks. I like flipping and everything. And when the first ramp we went to, all those docks were out of water, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? So it's kind of one of those deals. You just went junk fishing and just discovered, that those fish were super, super finicky in a way that you almost had to be precise of where you were casting, how you were retrieving it, and everything before they would bite.
Our house, a lot the guys that caught them pre-fishing caught them like Ned rigging, like just dragging a Ned rig. I caught a couple on a football jig pre-fishing, but I mean, it was just such a sporadic bite. I mean, it would take hours between fish, and I'm like, this sucks. Like I said out there, I'm glad the Tennessee game was Saturday because I just turned the radio on and just sat back and listened to them. I was at least enjoying that part of it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Hey, you said you were using live scope there, Josh. Mm-hmm. Did you use it on tournament day? You said you were using it to watch them in practice and kind of figure out what they were doing. Did it play on tournament day, or was the wind too bad?
Wind was too bad. To be honest, my side scan was the limiting factor on that. I saw the bait balls, on the left or right of me, and I saw a bunch of fish behind them. And then the next thing I knew, they were busting, and then I'd throw right there, and there they were.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Did you run the scope at all this weekend, Ryan? Did you have yours?
Oh yeah, and it was depressing.
What I was going to ask you both, what is that? Can you tell a distinct difference between those carp and everything else? Is it just by sheer numbers on the live scope? Did you run into
Dude, they're huge. The carp are freaking huge. They're like
Massive.
3.5 feet long. Like, I mean, you see like, you watch the Discovery Channel, right? And they're out there, what are those? The big, like jacked fish or whatever. That's what the carp look like, man. Like they're out there just schooled up. I went to a main channel shell bed and eagle flew down the shell bed. And when that shadow would cross over the carp, you would just see hundreds of carp bust off and go crazy. I mean, it's dumb. It is insane.
It's crazy how big they look on down imaging and live scope. I mean, you can legit see their fins.
Yeah, there ain't no question on what you're looking at. Like they're big fish.
Wow. Yeah. And does that, I know you guys aren't marine biologists over there, but are they competing with bait? Are those things vegetation eaters? What are they doing in there? Is that why the fish are stunted?
They're filter feeders from what I understand. So I think when they first got into the lake, they diminished that plankton population so much that the bait fish weren't finding the plankton where they used to. And I think a lot of the bait fish moved into the creeks more, trying to survive. And now they're kind of adjusting to having those carp in the lake. I don't know where the bass went though. Like that's the one thing that no one can explain. I get it. The carp showed up, bait fish move, whatever. There's still no one's catching adult bass, in numbers on the lake. That lake used to put out 30 bags like all summer long. Like there's something amiss there. Where'd the fish go?
Are they netting those carp? I wonder if they're netting the bass too.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You know what I mean? They're scooping up all the good ones.
They got, I think it's a cat food plant or something right there, just right off the lake. But yeah, they net up millions of pounds of carp and take them to that. It's cat food or dog food, whichever one's your favorite, I guess.
Insane. Yeah, crazy. Josh, unbelievable, man. State championship. What's next for you? You gonna jump out and travel a little bit next year? Or are you sticking with more local regional stuff over there?
I plan to jump in and fish a little bit more of the Tennessee Bass Nation events. I really enjoyed the couple that I fished this past year. I branched out and fished one of the Hobie BOS events, and not that I don't think that I'm ready for it, but the entry fee is kind of a little steep for me on that, and especially with traveling and all that stuff. So I want to try and build up the resume first, and then kind of go from there.
Bass Nation and Steve-O talked about that, at our state championship. Like that, the point of that is that stepping stone to, fish bigger tournaments, obviously have bigger payouts, but kind of get you used to the atmosphere of, multi-day events, bigger events, like trying to step you up mentally to be ready to hit the road. And the Hobies, a lot of times it's only beneficial. I don't want to say only beneficial, but most beneficial when you're fishing multiple tournaments. So you have to kind of plan out a season really, on your schedule if you're trying to qualify for the TOC, that is. But, usually you want to try to fish 3 or 4 to give yourself at least a shot at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fished the Chickamauga, and I think I was like top 30, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just more of an experience thing, and it was a fun event for sure.
Oh yeah, well for some people it was. I remember that one.
It was part of your sacrifice for the Vols, Ryan. That's all it was. Mark it up as another sacrifice.
Go Vols! I don't give a shit what they do next year. I'm gonna try to cash some checks. They better win the Natty this year because I ain't doing it again.
Heupel's going to Oklahoma.
Whatever. Ain't nobody going to Oklahoma. Not recruits, not coaches, not fans.
Or win. Well, they did win. I was going to say not wins, but they did win. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome stuff, Josh, man. Appreciate you sliding by here and sharing your state championship story with us tonight, man.
Hey, no problem. Thank you all for having me on here.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats again. What's your social media tag so people can go follow you? Josh is he's an Insta celebrity. So
okay.
Y'all go check out his content.
Yeah. King Bassing.
So he got a good name. He got a good last name there to play off of. So that helps out. Oh yeah.
All right.
YouTube, Instagram, the whole deal. TikTok. Yep. Look him up.
He's a man. All right, Josh. Appreciate you, man.
Congrats,
you all. Thank you.
See ya.
There we go. All right, Josh King.
Good
everybody.
kid. Good kid there. Good kid.
Good kid. I can see big things out of King Basson. I like that name.
King Basson. Oh, very marketable. That's genius.
Yeah, people that can actually speak and know how to promote on social media can do things in this industry.
Seriously, he kills it on Instagram. That was kind of a little bit of a joke, but that wasn't a joke. He kills it on the gram.
We've got our next guest waiting in here, Chad. Let's see if we can get him in. I know he's been patiently waiting about 10 minutes.
Hey,
there he is. What's up, man? Chad
What's
Davison.
up? How's it going, guys?
Living the dream, buddy. Living the dream.
I messaged Chad when I saw he won AOY a few weeks ago and said we were going to start this AOY series and to kind of be looking for the invite. And I was able to slide in there and get him this weekend. So yeah, man, congrats. Double AOYs for you. And thanks for coming on the show tonight.
I'm glad to do it, man. It's been an amazing year. It's been a goal, I guess, something that I've kind of aspired to be on your all show ever since I started kayak fishing a couple of years ago. So I'm knocking all the goals right off my list.
Good job, man. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Columbia, Missouri, about an hour and 15 minutes just north of Lake of the Ozarks. So
okay,
I've got Table Rock's about 3.5 hours. We got a bunch of other good Missouri lakes nearby.
Yeah, see, Chad sacrificed his football team to win AOY with the All-American Series, the Missouri Tigers. So he did the opposite of me, right?
Dude, they about knocked off Georgia, son. I was cheering my ass off for Missouri a couple weeks ago.
That was a disappointment.
Yeah, that was weird.
For me too. I want to see Georgia fall flat on their face.
But yeah, man, the Midwest. I guess KBN, the draw of KBN Live is strong in the Midwest. How about that? He's been wanting to come on the show, right? And yeah, AKS, they're still trying to grow, but Moyak is huge. You won both AOYs. We'll I guess we can talk about both those things. Josh Booth, as you guys probably know, runs both of those trails. But yeah, let's start with the All-American Series, man. This was, they kind of branched out and grew a little fast this year. They went to some lakes far from the Midwest. They went all the way up to St. Clair, down into Texas, down into
Kentucky
Arkansas.
Lake.
Yeah, Kentucky Lake. What'd you think of the series overall and their blueprint for growing it this year?
I mean, for me, it's a really great series. I mean, because it's kind of I'm kind of right in the middle of where all the events are. I mean, I didn't make it to some of the further events. Like St. Clair ended up just being too far with my schedule at that time. I missed the first event down in Texas at Palestine because it kind of conflicted with the Bassmaster National Championship, which I fished earlier this year. So I ended up fishing 5 of the 10 events, but fortunate to have a number of them within a 6 or 8 hour drive. I fished Kentucky Lake, Table Rock, Lake Okoboji, went up to La Crosse. That was a big one. And I fished Bull Shoals. So pretty good mixture of lakes.
What was the number for AOY? Was it 5 event?
It was your best 4.
Best 4. Okay. All right. So you had a bonus. You had a call finish there.
I kind of had it wrapped up probably before Bull Shoals, but then I ended up winning Bull Shoals, and so that just kind of was icing on the cake. But there was a number of really good anglers in this series, so I was pretty proud of that.
Do you like Bull Shoals or Table Rock better?
Well, this was only my second time going to Bull Shoals.
There's only one right answer, Chad. Think carefully.
That's why I asked the question.
And I fished Table Rock, almost my entire life that I've been fishing. So Table Rock's always been my favorite, but I got to say, I had a great time at Bull Shoals this year.
All right. I'm trying to make sure Jeff's telling us the truth and not setting us up for some more mess out there.
Chad and I traded some messages about Bull Shoals, and I gave him a little bit of information that I had way before the tournament took place, and he used none of it. Way
before the tournament took place.
He used none of that information to win the tournament. So good on you, Chad, for not listening to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at not listening to Doc talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably helps out more than it hurts, I'd say.
Yeah. I love both shoals, man. I love Table Rock too, though. So I'm hoping that Bassmaster or Hobie or somebody legit comes to one of those lakes at some point in the next year
Bull
or two.
Shoals is an awesome kayak lake, and I mean it's full of fish, and it gets like relatively a low amount of pressure, and a lot. It's such a big lake, and it seems like the bass boat tournaments I've seen all take off from like down near the dam. So if you fish on the upper end of the lake, most of the time I think bass boats don't make it that far, and so you got a lot of unpressured water up there. It's so big. There's just tons of water, and it's full of fish.
Yeah. If we had a spring tournament there, I think people would have a blast. All this flooded buckbrush for miles and miles, and all three species being in there, it'd be fun. But we'll see. So on your AOY list there, what was your favorite event? Like which one like sticks out as like, man, I'm so proud of how I did in this one to lock down that AOY?
I had 3 second places, a win, and a 7th, and every one of them was fun. Some were harder than others, but probably if I had to pick one that I was most proud of, it would probably be lacrosse, because there was so much weight put on that tournament. The way they did it this year, they were trying to really build it up and get some big numbers up there to lacrosse. And so they called it like a mid-season championship, and it was worth 1.5 points. So at that point, I had 3 second place finishes, but if I would have bombed at lacrosse, it would have completely ruined my chances for Angler of the Year. So it was a huge amount of pressure. I'd only been up there one time before. And I know a lot of the guys that fish the All-American Series are from that area, like up in Iowa and Wisconsin. And so a lot of local knowledge for some of those guys. So I knew I had my hands full. And just to come out of there with I think I got 7th out of 70. It was just enough points to keep me in the lead for AOY. And, if I would have just finished like 12th instead of 7th, I probably wouldn't have won AOY. So that was huge. And just to figure something out to have a good finish, that was a big deal.
Yeah. And I'm looking at second place in AOY is Mr. Lacrosse himself, Jeremiah Burrish. So you had to have a good finish just to keep pace with him up there, right?
Absolutely. Him and Tyler both did really well at lacrosse. I think they were both in the top 3, I believe.
Yeah.
So, that one tournament kind of decided your year for Angler of the Year. So I just was happy to come out of it and basically survive.
And lacrosse is a fishery that doesn't really have a lot of variability in fish size on the upper end. Like it's not like you're going to catch like a 23 or 24 to give you some wiggle room or a huge call, right? I mean, they're pretty much all relatively cookie cutter as far as adult keepers go.
Yeah, and this was a 3-day event, so you didn't want to get behind because you wouldn't be able to catch up. So you definitely had to go out and catch them every day.
Lacrosse is a fun place, but like you said, Ryan, there's a lot of 16 to 18 inch fish up there, but there's not a lot above that. So the guys that can find a couple of those, boy, it's all the difference. So
Coon King Bob wants to know how long it took you to paddle that autopilot upstream back to the landing when he saw you at lacrosse.
Did you kill a battery or did it break? What happened there?
I was seriously concerned about my battery. I've got an 80 amp hour amped lithium that I've never even come close to draining it, but I decided to like try and really cover a bunch of water, and I put in at Goose Island, and I ended up way out by the main river channel and went way downstream, and then the tournament ended and I had to get back to the ramp and I had to go upstream the whole way, and all of a sudden I realized I was on like 20% battery, and I had like, I don't know, it was like probably up 3 or 4 miles to go into a really stiff current, and so I was literally paddling with my motor trying to conserve as much battery, and I got back to the ramp, still had battery. I mean, I've got a battery meter and it was down to like just a couple %, but it was still going. So, but yeah, there was a bunch of guys that were already back at the campground when I'm sitting there paddling into the current, with my motor, trying to get back to the ramp. So I was coming up with like a plan B and a plan C if I had to ditch it and get somebody to go get my truck or something.
Just lock down to Little Rock all the way back. You'd be all right. Just go with the current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
those autopilots, as most of you know, they do not paddle well. So
No, they're big suckers.
It was a really scary thought.
I had a lacrosse story like that, except that's when I first got an autopilot, and I had a lead acid battery in it, and lost my paddle and almost killed the battery, and I was really panicking. But I trickled back to the ramp. And just barely made it, thank God. And I had my PDL on the trailer. But yeah, it was quite an
trusty.
Old trusty. Yeah, man. Tell us about we asked this with the other AOYs we had on, like your secret sauce. What's the key to being consistent for the year to win something like this? Because winning AOY, we said it before, it's hard. Whether it's a local AOY or a big tournament like this, it's hard. It's hard to win AOY.
Well, I mean, I feel like probably the foundation of my success is I fished bass boat tournaments for about 25 years. And so I have a lot of experience tournament fishing, and I made the transition into kayak fishing 2 years ago. And when I got that autopilot, I can fish out of it. I mean, just like I fish out of a bass boat with the trolling motor, and I can stand up, which is huge for me. And so I feel like having all the experience is a huge thing. I'm pretty good at finding some water, and then I've always been one to kind of milk an area, so that just lends itself like to kayak fishing, and so just being versatile. I mean, I pretty much am known to use just about any technique. In fact, I got 16 rods rigged up right now. I'm going to Table Rock this weekend, and I just don't know what rods I'm going to end up using, so I'm taking a bunch. But I feel comfortable doing a lot of different things, and if I can get onto an area that's got fish and figure out how to make them bite, then things can happen.
What are your three? If you had to pick your three favorite techniques to travel around, like what are your three kind of go-to techniques? If you can only take 3 rods, what are you going to have tied on?
Well, I'm going to have a top water most of the time, assuming it's not winter or something. But I've had a great year on the Crockett Gator head knocker buzzbait this year, and it's accounted for a lot of big fish for me. I caught big bass at Bull Shoals on it. In fact, I got a great video on my Instagram channel of the catch, and it's a pretty cool video. But I mean, I love covering water with the buzzbait, so that's definitely one. And then it's kind of a toss up between like a jackhammer and a square bill, but I really like throwing the little like a small square bill, like a BX Brad or a Fritside 5 or something like that. I mean, I can always get bites on that, it seems like. And then you gotta have a bottom bait. I've got a rig that's kind of a secret rig, but not really a secret.
Show us, Chad. Nobody's watching. Just show us.
I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's basically a Mojo rig. I take a rubber peg and peg a 1/4 ounce weight, about a foot or 16 inches above a couple different creature baits I like to throw, and I can drag that around, and then if I come up to a good piece of cover where I want to flip it in there, I can just slide the weight down, and it's like a Texas rig, pitch it in there, and then if I'm like trying to cover water again, I can just slide the weight back down and just cast it out and drag it around, and that's always been a really good technique for me. So I mean, I think with those 3 things, I could probably do a lot of damage.
You did a lot of damage.
Yeah, you proved that, I think.
Yeah, and not only did you win the All-American Series, man, you won Moyak. So tell everybody a little bit about Moyak. That series in itself is hard to win AOY because they have huge turnouts and a lot of talent, a lot of the same faces that I see on this AOY list for All-American Series are fishing that Missouri Trail too. Yeah, I mean,
Moyak is full of hammers. We got two guys that are qualified for the TOC this year, Brandon Prince and McNasty, Richie McMichael, and there's a whole laundry list of guys that, you know, Lance Burris and Troy Inke and Brian Hillman and Jeremy Mitchell, and just, I mean, the list goes on. These guys that have done well at the national level. So pretty stiff competition. We averaged 80 boats a tournament this year for 7 events. So it's not like it's small. We've got a couple hundred members, and we get some good numbers. I think we had over 150 boats at Table Rock this spring. So some good numbers, great events. Josh does a heck of a job. And so, you know, I almost feel like winning Moyak is almost a bigger accomplishment than the All-American Series. I mean, they're both huge. And I came really close last year in AOY my first year in Moyak, and Dorman Huey beat me out by 1 point. So I lost by 1 point. And then in the All-American Series, I finished in the top 5 and was just probably 4 or 5 spots from like places in any given event from winning AOI and the All-American. So I was making a run at it last year, and I finally got it all put together this year.
And, you know, Moyak does something that I wish we would do here in Arkansas. There's too many clubs, I think, to pull it off. But they basically go statewide, man, or at least the southern half of the state. They don't just stick around. I mean, Josh is in outside of Branson there, south of Springfield, wherever he's at.
He's in Joplin, yeah.
He's in Joplin now? Why did I think he was in Branson to begin with? Maybe I'm crazy about that. Eric Hansen, the guy that started the club, was in Branson. That's why.
Oh, that's
he was in Branson. But the events range from east to west. They're not just around Joplin, you know. So it's a statewide trail. A lot of states don't do that. You have these local clubs that just stick to, like, I don't know how far out you guys go, Ryan, but you probably don't go to Kentucky Lake for your local trail event, right?
No, Del Hollow. We've done events on Del Hollow. We've done events down in Georgia, but we pretty much just stay between Chickamauga, Nickajack, Gunnersville, that area.
I got you. Yeah, so you guys got that statewide trail. That makes it even a little bit harder, because you can't just run it after work and pre-fish all these lakes. You got to plan for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit at a disadvantage, or a lot of the tournaments are down in the southern part of the state. So like Table Rock's 3.5, 4 hour drive. Bull Shoals about 4 hours. Some of the lakes are 2.5, 3 hours. And so some of the guys that live around Springfield and stuff are a lot closer to most of those lakes. But I mean, it's not 3 or 4 hours isn't too bad, so I can't complain.
Got a question here. Bob Coon King, as Ryan called him. He's asking how that head knocker compares to a Cavitron, if you've ever used a Cavitron.
I don't know if I ever did use a Cavitron. Is that like one that had like holes in the blade or something like that?
Yes.
Seems like that bubbles a lot, if I remember right. But I don't really have a lot of experience with it. I just know I've actually I've got a head knocker here with the new it's called the X-Toad. It's a new trailer they've got that actually integrates a slot for the trailer hook, so it holds it in place and everything. But basically the head knocker, it just, you know, you adjust the wire. If you don't want it to knock against the head, if you want it more silent, you can bend it up, or if you want it to beat against the head, you just bend it down to where it beats against the head. And it makes I mean, like I said, if you check out that video that I got on my Instagram, it's at Chad A. Davison on Instagram. It's a reel that I did, and it's you know, it shows you can hear the sound of the buzzbait really well. And I think that sound is pretty critical. It seems like almost always, even if it's slick calm, they want that blade beating against the head, making that tinny, like tinking sound. And it, I mean, they devour it. So this buzzbait has been around for decades. In fact, we just saw a video the other day with like Edwin Evers, and he was throwing one. I mean, he wasn't promoting it, but it was obviously a head knocker that he had on. So it's a proven bait.
Do you put them in front of a fan and let the blade spin for hours, like you see people posting videos all the time?
I've seen people do that. I just throw it. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I just use it. Yeah, and I mean, it gets that squeak too, but really, to me, it's like the sound of the blade beating against the head, and I mean, and it's, you know, if you really want to get really specific, like different blades, like the gold blade has a different sound than the tin blade beating against the head. So you might think it's the color of the blade making a difference, but it could actually be like the sound of the blade is different because it's a different material. And there's a lot of little things, like the half ounce has an actual I don't know if you can see that, but that's a line through blade. The wire actually starts on one side of the head and goes through the middle, and it creates a little bit more of a tighter spin. And then like the 3/4 ounce has an offset blade, and all of the blade is, or all of the wire is on one side of the blade, and that gives the blade more of a wobble. And so, you know, at times if it's like really windy or something like that, then it can give even more action. Something weird going on there.
I know. Ryan went into like some deep voice, crazy, like Darth Vader voice. He's leaving and coming back. So we had some more questions. Luke Arian, our resident smart aleck, said, do you use any Berkeley baits? We see those behind you there. So I'm assuming that's it.
I'm a big scent guy. So like the Max scent, I'm a pretty big believer in those baits.
Yeah. And then Levi Schneider asked about swing head on Table Rock. He thought he's the only one throwing it. Caught a bunch of walleye with it. You like swing head? I'm a big swing head thrower.
I love the swing head. Crockett Gators got their own swing head called an Instigator, and I caught a lot of my fish at La Crosse fishing riprap with a Z-Craw Junior on a swing head, and you know, just you know, basically you fish it like a crankbait.
Yeah.
Cast it out. I like, ideally, if the fish are kind of in that 4 to 8 foot zone, it was what works best for me. You let it go to the bottom, and then you just reel it fast enough to keep hitting the rocks on the bottom, and it'll just load up. And I love it. Whenever I can, it's one of my baits that I like to throw. At Table Rock, sometimes you have to fish it deeper, maybe use a lighter line and try and get it down deeper sometimes and drag it around. But
yeah. Chris Marks, he said Ryan went to Parliament Funk.
I don't know what happened there. I was just sitting here like enjoying the buzzbait conversation, and then my screen froze.
It went to the deepest voice you've ever heard. Like we were like in, you know when they black people's face out so you can't see them and they have this voice disguiser. That's what it sounded like.
I like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
yeah. All right. Okay.
So Chris asked, he said, "Congrats on your season. Are you branching out and fishing any national stuff next year? Any more national stuff? I guess AKS would be considered pseudo-national.
Kind of a regional. It's like semi-national. I did fish the Bassmaster National Championship this spring, and then I also fished the Bassmaster kayak event at Grand Lake earlier this year, and was lucky enough to get a top 5 there and qualified to fish the 23 National Championship. So I'm excited about that, and I'm really anxious to see what Bass is going to do with the schedule, and you know, they're, you know, a new tournament director and maybe making some changes to make it more inviting for people. I'm really excited to see that, and I'm hoping to maybe fish more of those next year. I kind of would like to fish some Hobies too, but I just love my autopilot too much, and I just don't like fishing sitting down, so that's a big problem for me. I did buy an Old Town Salty PDL not too long ago to fish some of the rivers around here, and I'm kind of playing with the idea if maybe there's a Hobie or two that would work into my schedule, maybe I could fish them out of that. So definitely wanting to branch out more into like Bassmaster and possibly some Hobie events in the future. Just kind of depends on the schedule and how everything works out.
Good stuff, man. There, like you said, there's so many guys on that Midwest list of hammers that really don't travel a lot outside of the region. and it's probably the same. You can say the same thing on the East Coast or in the Southeast with Tennessee and Alabama and stuff. Guys that don't travel much, that could really do some damage. You're one of those guys in the Midwest. So hopefully we'll see you out there on the road, knocking me down a few more spots in the standings, Ryan.
There's only so many spots to go, so you should be in good shape.
I know. Damn.
Josh has been giving me a hard time about we're fishing some lakes next year in the All-American Series. I have alligators, and I've never fished around alligators. And I always thought that might be something I'd have to deal with in Florida, but evidently you got them down there in the southern part of Arkansas and stuff too. So I don't know. He keeps sending me videos and posting videos and tagging me of gators jumping in boats and stuff.
Nah, they ain't gonna hurt you.
Yeah, there he goes again. Ryan, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
You went dark. You went dark on us.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, now you sound all right though.
I just put my headphones up and it popped up some weird screen. I'm so sorry. This is my first time.
Hey, I'll tell you that Conway event they're going to have next year is going to be a big one. Some big fish will be caught there, Chad. You'll have fun at that one. And there are some gators in Conway too, but they're few and far between. You probably won't see any. Somebody asked about the Big Bass 250. You fishing that coming up on Lake of the Ozarks? I forgot about that. I forgot that we had that guy on here and even talked about it, and I forgot.
He made a post last week promoting it. I saw a promo vid.
Yeah, it's Jonathan that made the comment. He's helping run that, and I'm definitely fishing it. I mean, Lake of the Ozarks is like an hour and 15 minutes away, and my dad's actually got a place on the lake, so there's like no reason for me not to go fish it. It's kind of ironic. Lake of the Ozarks is one of the lakes I've fished the most, and probably it was definitely my worst finish last year, but I also I've had some wins there too. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping they get the numbers where they want them. I think there's about 40 or so signed up right now, so they got a ways to go before they get to the 250. But I would imagine, knowing how kayak anglers are, they're all waiting until the last minute to sign up. So
you got a solid 50 or 60 sitting there waiting until Friday, probably the Friday of the event.
Yeah, it's going to be a good event no matter what. They got a bunch of kayaks to give away, and I think I saw they had like a power pole and all kinds of giveaways and stuff. So it sounds like your chances of walking away with something pretty big for just the giveaways is a pretty good possibility.
I forgot about that. I need to get out the glide baits and just drive up there and see what happens. You know what I mean? There's a million docks I can throw glide baits around, right, Chad?
Oh yeah, Lake of the Ozarks is awesome in November. I mean, the bite really starts to pick up. They hit top water, buzz baits and whopper ploppers and spooks and spinner baits and all that stuff starts to come into play in November. So, and big jigs and skipping around docks, and it could be a lot of fun.
Confirmed today, guaranteed 10K for Big Bass.
Wow, awesome. That's awesome.
Pretty impressive.
Yep, it's going to be huge.
Just replied to Bob. Yes, there's gators in Felsenthal. It's basically the border of Louisiana, so there's gators there. Yeah, good stuff. I don't know. I need to put that on the calendar and see if I can make it to that Big Bass 250, because that's not too far from me either. It's only a couple hours up the road.
Get it.
So good stuff. Ryan, you got anything else for Chad before we let him slide out here, man? Wrap this thing up before you go dark again.
Thanks for supporting us and always being involved with KBN. We appreciate it, and congrats on the huge year, man. That's awesome.
I really appreciate it. It's been fun, and I hope to do something else to get back on here.
You will.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Chad.
See you guys.
There we go, man. What a show, Ryan.
What a show.
What a show. We always like doing, we always have the national tournament winners and things like that on here. I love having more regional stuff and state champs and these other AOYs. So we're going to keep doing that in the off season. There's some point,
a lot more to kayak fishing than just the two big national trails.
And we swear at some point we're getting this new bass tournament director on here at some point.
Well, if they announce their tournament director as fast as they investigate,
we're in trouble.
It's going to be a while.
They have to send 2 bass boats up somewhere else to confirm the tournament director.
They sent 2 pirogues to paddle to his home, which is landlocked. So it's taking a minute.
Fun stuff. All right, man. Hey, and you know what? 2 weeks from now, I don't know if you realize this, but a Monday night is Halloween night.
Oh,
So we may need to throw together a little Revo giveaway / costume extravaganza
contest. Yeah, let's do that.
So if you're watching or listening to this later, plan on that. But yeah, we'll wrap this thing up tonight. You got anything else, man?
Limit your body paint exposure. I'll ask that in advance.
I've already got a good idea for my own costume. I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, man. Well, we'll wrap this thing up. Anything else before we go?
That's it. Let's go.
Go Balls.
Go Balls.